All right, what's happening, everybody? Welcome into Rock Down Detroit Lions Off the Cuff Sunday night. Man, are we only a few hours away from the chaos that's about to ensue, and I am one excited guy. Let me know right away if you guys can hear me okay. Make sure everything's good. I got new cords, and I've been having trouble today when I was trying to record videos. So let me know if everything's okay, and man, you guys are lighting it up again today. Holy cow. And I love it. I absolutely love it, man. You guys have been getting in here. I had to change it from 8 to 8:15, trying to get everything put together, and I'm missing a whole page of research that somehow disappeared. I don't know if I deleted it or what, but we'll just have to go without it tonight, and we'll fit it in another night. So on the docket tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about the leftover free agents that are available, and that's both sides, the Lions in-house free agents and the ones that are more than likely going to be signed by Wednesday. Some of the bigger free agents may not go on Wednesday. It may take a couple of days. And the other thing is to keep in mind too is, a lot of these trade scenarios that are floating out there, L'Jarius Sneed being one, and some others that have been flying around, those may take a while. If you've had to franchise tag a player and you're trying to trade that player, whenever that franchise tag becomes due, which I'm not sure if that is the 13th of March or later, but I don't think it really matters. Some of those deals may not happen right away. It may take a little bit of time before those get done. So there may not be a whole lot of news this week on some of the bigger trade options. So I think for this week, it's going to be the same as it's always been. I think that tomorrow's going to be pretty hot. And based on what I heard from confidential source today, is that the Lions were only interested in signing 6 of their in-house guys that were left. Only 6. And then one of them got tendered today. So Craig Reynolds appears to be back on the team for this season. And there's apparently only 5 more, not 10, 5 more that are going to be signed that are currently Lions free agents from the 2023 season. So it's going to be interesting. I have a good idea on who these 5 are already, and we'll talk about it. I'm not saying that this is what was told to me. I'm not going to give that information out, but I'm just going to tell you what I think, and we'll see what happens with it. There's a lot going on with Wilkins, Lion King. It's not confirmed, yet. It's not 100% done. But now, I've been talking about it since February 20th, I think. And now everyone has jumped on board. The one thing that I'll tell you is the funny thing in media that I'm learning, because I'm newer to media, but the thing that I'm learning is when the first two guys are gone, well, now everyone's going to talk about the third guy, right? I mean, it's just the way it goes in life. When you don't have any more options to talk about, you have to go to the next option. And so now everyone's looking at it like, oh, hey, there's Wilkins. Well, he's going to the Lions. And, it is what it is. Is there an echo? I just heard someone. Are you echoing, Will? Am I echoing? You tell me. If I am echoing, I'll just switch my cords real quick. Maybe it's a little too loud. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So when I see fits, when I see opportunity, I don't have an echo on my side. If you guys have an echo on your side, let me know. And there is no way I'm going to be able to go back through all of these messages to see what everyone's been talking about. So if you guys want to clue me in on what's important tonight, did I just see that the chef is in the house? Hold on. Let me wind it back. Chef Talks NFL. Is that the Yak Pod guy? Shout out to the Yak Pod guy. No echo. Okay, thanks. Appreciate it. Who's Adam? We got Adam in the house. Which Adam is it? There's a lot of new names in here, man. Muggins 2929. There's a bunch of new names in here tonight. Love it. Glad to see everyone's in. And welcome to the channel. If you guys are new and have just subscribed, I appreciate it. We're going to have a hot week. We're going to have some fun. We're going to be bringing you guys the breaking news all week. And try to stay up on it because it's going to be fast and furious. Like I told you guys last week, I'm going to be glued to this seat. As long as there's news to go around, we're going to get it out. So I think what I have first on my list here is talking a little bit about the Lions free agents. Let's get through that part first. And let me pull them up here real quick. So the Lions will have more than a dozen, unrestricted free agents, and more than a quarter of them are in the defensive backfield. With Kendall Vildor, Jerry Jacobs, Will Harris, Khalil Dorsey, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Jacobs was restricted, obviously not coming back to the team, as we understand now, and the Lions declined to tender him an offer. So he already kind of tweeted his goodbye message. So it's, I guess, good riddance to Jerry Jacobs. Wish him the best. When I look at the rest of the defense as a whole, I think that if you were to rank where our needs are, I mean, you guys know I'm hammering defensive tackle, but quite honestly, I believe that cornerback is our number one need. It really is, by the size of the hole that's there on the roster, and the impact that we had last season from the cornerbacks really not having a good year. It's a bad year. But I think a lot of that also is attributed to the defensive line. I think that, if you've got great defensive backs, yes, they can stand the test of time within the pocket if it goes beyond, 2.75 seconds. If you don't have great cornerbacks back there, then yeah, you're kind of limited. You better hurry up and get to the quarterback in under 3, more like in under 2.75 seconds, or it's going to be a long afternoon through the air. And we've seen both sides, right? The defensive front played well in some games. I want to say that the Tampa Bay Bucks game was a pretty darn good game for the Lions defense in the front, and our defensive backs had a great game. So, Mike Evans, I don't remember what he did that game. Matter of fact, I don't even remember if he played that game, but I know that the overall sentiment from that game was that the defensive backs held their own really well and had a really good game. And then on the flip side of that, I mean, we've seen players like Jefferson go for 200 yards multiple times in a season. We've seen, the last 6 games or so of the season where one receiver is putting up, more than 140 yards. I mean, just god awful. And I understand that, these are the cream of the crop, the best of the best receivers out there. But if you look at some of the other DBs around the league, that didn't happen to everybody. Definitely didn't happen to Jalen Johnson. Didn't happen to L'Jarius Sneed. So you need somebody like that. Every team is begging to have a top tier corner, and they're few and far between. There's not a whole lot of them around. and you are lucky to get one. Just like you are lucky to get a top tier defensive tackle or a top tier defensive end. There's just not that many that can really, change a game. And that's what we're looking for this free agency, at least from my perspective, and hopefully Brad Holmes' perspective, is that they want to get better, right? You want to upgrade this defense year over year is probably the primary goal, just upgrade. But number two, you've got to be able to find some game changers, some additional game changers. And I think that's priority number one, really starting tomorrow is who is going to be available. And you know what's nice? For the first time in 40 years of watching the Lions, let me get a drink real quick. The door is actually open. And what I mean by that is, for all of these years that we've watched the Lions kind of just muddle through free agency and assemble a team and then get to week one, it's like, yeah, we're happy. We're all excited about it. But if you really go back and look at what we did as a team and the players that we brought in or the coaches that we brought in, door wasn't open. Nobody wanted to walk through it. Now the door is open. It's a destination station. And I think that's going to be the difference that we see this week. Whether Brad Holmes is going to pull the trigger and go out and allow these guys to enter the halls of Allen Park, that's yet to be seen. Now, there's been a ton of information.
Jameson makes the catch. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
Thanks, Jonathan Lancaster.
That's what I'm talking about, number 9.
Just subscribed. Appreciate it. So there's been a ton of information going around, even this morning that, like Christian Wilkins is pegged to Detroit. And I could believe it. I mean, they're going to have to outbid the Texans. The Texans got a lot of money. They also have some needs. There's 5 other teams that could be involved in this scenario. But for once, I think that a player like Christian Wilkins would want to come to Detroit. If we didn't get him through the draft, we didn't get those all-star players. If we didn't draft an Ndamukong Suh or a Matt Stafford or a Calvin Johnson, they wouldn't have come to this team in the past. And now I think they will. So, man, you guys are flying. We got almost 200 people in the chat tonight, man. That's awesome. Welcome in. I'll bring up Mac in a little bit. And if I forget to talk about him, there's a conversation I had with a fellow creator about Mac. And, screw it. We'll just talk about it now. So with Mac, I think, given his age, he's a hell of a player. I think that, he could offer, definitely could offer some guidance for this Lions defense and, lend his ability to creating some plays. I absolutely believe that. I still believe that he's got a lot left in the tank, but in spurts. He's 33 years old. He's had a hell of a career. But I think he's a ring chaser right now. He's probably somebody that's looking to join a contender and, probably 1-year deals, maybe 2 at the most, but probably 1-year deals. He wants a ring. And at 33 years old, I don't know if he makes the most sense to try to bring in, especially for the kind of money that he's looking for. And if I remember correctly, the Raiders have not cut him yet. Or not the Raiders. Oh, let's see. Let me take a look. Chargers. I don't think the Chargers have cut him, right? So what I was saying in my conversation was this. If Khalil Mack was cut and then came to the Lions on a cheap deal, then I'd be cool with that. But trading for him, absolutely not. I don't see giving up high draft capital for a guy like Khalil Mack and then turning around and having to pay his gigantic salary on top of it. If the Chargers want to cut him, well, then you can negotiate, with a guy that doesn't have a salary anymore and he wants to play football and he wants to win a ring. Would the Lions be his number one destination? Maybe not. I guess it depends on, what he felt during that game last season. Did he feel like we're a changed team? Did he feel like we had a chance? Did he ever see us making it to the NFC title game? those are questions that, he'll be able to answer. And, for me, it would be a big no unless he's cut and is willing to come in on a pretty friendly deal. Definitely can't be any more than, a Bryce Huff or a Jonathan Greenard, Mike Dana. It's got to be a pretty friendly deal. For me personally, I'm just not in the business of handing out big, giant chunks of money for guys to come in for one season. Like that just wouldn't make sense for me. For Brad Holmes, I haven't seen him do it yet. So I think that that check has kind of cashed itself. You know what I mean? I don't think that Brad Holmes would do that. I don't think he would put us in that position. So Adam's question says, between all the average pass rushers, who do you prefer? And we're talking average, right? Not top tier, but average. Let's see here. We'll get into that right now. So we'll talk defensive line. So the defensive line, in my opinion, like I said, second most important need. There are a number of productive top tier free agents. And you said average. I assume you mean like second tier. Still available at edge rusher, which, like I said, I would rate this as the second most important position on the D line. So you've got Danielle Hunter, clearly the number one guy out there that everybody wants. I don't see the Lions being able to pull a Danielle Hunter and a Christian Wilkins, but my goodness, if they did, that would be insane. There's a name that someone just mentioned right there, DJ Wonham. He is a second tier guy to me, and he's probably third or fourth on my list. But on the outside edge, I mean, right now, I would say you've got Bryce Huff and AJ Epinesa are my two favorite guys that are mid-tier, right? Second tier guys. And what I mean by that, for those of you who haven't been in before, first tier is obviously the most expensive guys, the 19 to 25 million and up. The second tier guys, they're going to be between that, 11, 12 million and 18 million. They're kind of fitting in there. AJ Epinesa, I have in the second tier only because of his quality, as a player, but I don't think he's going to get more than 8 million a year. He would really be a third tier guy, but second tier quality. So he's a third tier as far as his money is concerned. I hope that answered your question. I do believe that we could get AJ Epinesa or Huff. And I think that there's a possibility that we could get two. So I've been a long time believer that you want to add as much depth as possible to this team first. And because we have such a gigantic hole, I mean, literally it's a hole right now on this team. You look at our defensive line, who do we have? We have Aleem McNeil, who's only signed through this year. You have Broderick Martin, who signed for a few seasons, and Levi Onwuzurike, who I believe this is his last season, or maybe he's signed through next year as well. And I'm not comfortable with that. Like, I've always believed that the defensive tackle is the way to the quarterback. You break that center chain, right? That center link of the chain, which is the center. Once you break that link, the rest of the defense can work. Christian Wilkins takes up double teams all day long, and nobody can block him one-on-one. It has not been done. I'm sure it's been done, but you know what I'm saying? It's not done often. And to add a guy like that and to break that chain down in the center of this offense, you're now allowing Aleem McNeil and Aiden Hutchinson to go wild on the left side of the defense. That's why I'm pounding the table for a defensive tackle. On defensive end, we brought in Mathieu Betts. If he does work out and if he does show the flash that he does for the CFL, I dare say I don't know if we need anybody. I think that he would be better than anybody we've had over there so far. But there's a lot to be, learned yet on Mathieu Betts. I haven't seen, him do any 7-on-7s, 11-on-11s, nothing. And we haven't seen him play in a, NFL type of game. So there's a big difference in talent. Absolutely. And I don't know about speed though. So he's pretty fast. And you got to realize he's playing, like a yard and a half or 2 yards deep off the line too. So the fact that he's getting back there so quickly and he's like 2 yards back, that tells me that this guy has some get off. And not only that, he has some really good vision. Donkey Kong says, Brad is a very smart shopper. He's doing amazing. Stay the course. See, Chef Talks NFL says, why would you get Hunter? That's why you would get Hunter and Wilkins and tell them to scheme whatever they want, because it's not going to work. Exactly. I wish we could. I don't see that happening. But I will tell you this, part of the news, part of the thumbnail and everything, and tonight's description about the guys that are supposed to be
Jameson makes the catch. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, number 9.
With our own free agents on Mondays, prior to free agency starting, is this. Let me pull it up here. One second. That's where I had all my work done. I had everything all laid out, and for some reason this sheet is completely missing, and I don't know why. But we'll have to find it again another day. So Lions tracker here. What do we have going on? Well, who do we have left? I don't know why I'm not able to find it. I'll just open it up from SpoTrack, and that'll give me what I need. All right. So as far as I understand, there's going to be 5 additional guys that'll be signed tomorrow. Not sure what time, but at some point. And that one of those players will not be. You ready for this? Charles Harris will not be re-signed tomorrow. He will hit free agency. Does not mean he will not come back, but he will not be re-signed as a Detroit Lion. As we already know, that Julian Okwara has left to the Eagles, so we don't have to worry about that. The second guy that will not be re-signed tomorrow, and I don't think that this one is, any sort of a surprise, but Halapaluvati Vaitai will not be re-signed tomorrow. Again, this is confidential source that told me that there's going to be a few guys that the Lions are going to sign, and I'm basing those people off of the guys that I'm telling you that are not going to sign. See how I did that? I'm just kind of reversing it a little bit. I got to get through the list though here. Third guy that will not be re-signed. Again, these are rumors from a source. Will Harris will not be a Detroit Lion. Will not be re-signed tomorrow. Again, doesn't mean that none of these guys can't come back on a cheaper deal, but they are going to hit free agency. A bit of a shocker is the next guy. Probably the most important one. I think everybody's favorite. And that is Kindle Vildor. I'm just kidding about the favorite. I had to throw that in there. Had to, get it going just a little bit. But this last guy, and this is the last one that I'm going to share for tonight, and it's a big one, is C.J. Gardner-Johnson is going to be hitting free agency. The Lions are going to be playing the market, and the market is wide open right now in safeties. So at this point, they're not expecting C.J. Gardner to come back and become a Detroit Lion once he hits free agency. Someone is more than likely going to pay him and overpay him for his services. I think it's a good move. I think if this stands true tomorrow, that the Detroit Lions would be much better off at finding somebody a little bit younger, a little bit bigger, and sign them for a lot longer. Doesn't have to be Justin Simmons. It doesn't have to be, a big time name like that. There's plenty of good safeties available right now. Take your pick. There's a lot of good guys available. Yeah, I hear you on Harris. So both Harrises are gone. That's why I had to put that out there. Will and Charles Harris are supposed to be gone. One guy that is supposed to come back though. This one I'm not surprised by at all. Graham Glasgow, which would be an amazing signing for the Lions. He is supposed to come back. They are working on a deal. If it gets done tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised at that at all. I wouldn't. I think it's important. I think that, Brad Holmes, the way he does things, he always waits till Monday to sign some guys, and there's usually a flurry of signings and news that comes out. He's got to feel it, man. He's got to feel the market. He has to figure out, temper the water a little bit. Like, what is available to us and how expensive is it going to be? Can we afford it long term? Will it help this team? Or will it hurt this team long term? So give me you guys' thoughts in the comments on those 6 guys that I mentioned there on, the 5 that are not supposed to re-sign with the Lions, and then Graham Glasgow that is supposed to come back, which I think it's a great move. I do. The last tidbit of info is Jonah Jackson is also going to test free agency, from what I understand, that they're not even close. And that's been reported by multiple people. But that one I think is going to hold true. I think that Jonah Jackson's going to test free agency. Now, I don't have any idea right now. I don't have any feelers or anybody giving me any information as to who the Lions are really going to sign outside of, the reports that we've seen, the information that we shared this morning, that Christian Wilkins is supposed to be heavily pursued by the Lions and could be a pissing match. We'll see. I mean, the Lions got pretty deep pockets this year. They can make a ton of more cap space available, and they could bring in 4 or 5 guys if they wanted to that were all top tier. They really could. It just has to make sense. It really does. All right, so let me get into some of my notes here. I was talking about the defensive line. So as far as the free agents that that I'm looking at, you guys know that I would love to have the DT first. I think that makes perfect sense, especially with Wilkins being available. It even makes more sense than that. But Danielle Hunter, I mean, he's a game changer. I can't see the Lions doing both. And for that reason, if we were to grab somebody on the edge, like, Jonathan Greenard's name came up, and I promised you guys that I would talk about it tonight a little bit. I can't say that I'm overly excited on Jonathan Greenard, but for what he brings, his age, his availability, his ability, he made the absolute most of his contract season last year. Had a pretty productive season as a pass rusher and a run defender. 9.3% run stop rate, ranked 8th among qualifying edge defenders. That's a pretty darn good rate. Greenard also won against the run because of a good first step. So he gets out quickly. Strong diagnosing skills and a solid ability to set the edge and avoid getting washed out at the point of attack. As a pass rusher, while he doesn't really have the deepest arsenal of pass rushing moves, he's good enough, though, at least a good enough athlete to rack up and clean up and pursue, and get the quarterback underneath pressure. So, utilizing the good teammates that he has around him, I think that he used what he had available to him and made the best out of it. The thing that I do like about Jonathan Greenard is that he's only 26 years old. And he's still young. I mean, he's just now going to start entering the prime of his career, and he's probably not going to command a giant, salary. I think that he's in that second tier. Let me see what I had him pegged for salary. 11 to 14 million per year. And at that rate, I mean, that's not a bad rate. Alpha Gridiron 1 says I would rather pay 2 to 3 more million for Hunter. I don't think we're going to be able to get Hunter for less than $25 million a year. I don't know what you guys are thinking, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. I mean, there's been a lot of different, valuations thrown out there, but I think he's definitely north of 21 million. I do feel that. So the second guy, really my first guy in the edge outside of Danielle Hunter, Bryce Huff, and AJ Epinesa. Again, Bryce Huff, he's only pegged at like 3 years, 30 million. And if you can get a guy like that locked down for 3 seasons at just under, or around 10 million a season, maybe your first year cap hit on these guys is only a couple $1,000,000. So when you look at what the Lions have available, about 54 million in cap space, you could sign a Greenard and an AJ Epinesa and still have 50 million left, or 48. It's not going to cost much to grab these guys in year one. It's just year 2, 3, and 4 that start to creep up in a hurry. So on Bryce Huff, let me look at his notes real quick. On Bryce Huff, he really set out to prove that, what he did in 2022 was not some, aberration of his ability. And he really did just that in 2023. He had a crazy high pass rush win rate once again. And, I think that's a reason why a team is going to be highly interested in him, is that he's winning his reps. And that's the most important thing. And I'll say this about Aiden. You guys know I've said this stuff about Aiden before. He gets pressure because of what pressure, is, just pushing a tackle or guard back into the pocket, quote unquote. It affects the quarterback. It counts as a pressure. Now, to win that rep would be a pass rush win rate, right? That's when you start to win and affect the quarterback, and get to the quarterback, disrupt the play, make a stop in the run game, whatever it is. That's what Bryce Huff was doing very well last season. His pass rush win rate was 23.1%. I think Aiden was somewhere around 17%. I could be wrong, but I think he was right around 17%. So anyway, he's an undrafted free agent, highly developed undrafted free agent. Somebody that, was taking a chance on it and for good reason. I mean, these are the kinds of guys that Brad Holmes likes, right? He loves the undrafted free agent story. He loves the underdog story. He loves the guys with the chips on their shoulder, the guys that earn it. They go out and dig for it every single day. And that's what Bryce Huff has done. So, I mean, exceptional fortitude and on his behalf to do what he's been able to do. And the more that I look into him and the more that I read about him, the more I think that he could be a great fit as a Detroit Lion. And hopefully, he'll get some attention from Brad Holmes this week. Because outside of Matthew Betts, I still think that you want to cross the barrier of the known bridge first, right? Not the unknown bridge. You're not going to know anything about Matthew Betts until this summer. Like when you finally see him in 11-on-11 or 7-on-7, that's when you're going to know what he's got. And until then, now's the time. Like now's the time to do something about that position, or build some depth behind it that you think could be a high quality rotational player like an AJ Epinesa, who's only been playing about 50% of his snaps. And that's why I'm really high on him, because I feel 50% of the snaps, 6 sacks or 6.5 sacks, highly productive, very highly productive individual, just like Bryce Huff has been. But Bryce Huff, man, I mean, a 90.1 pass rush, true pass rush grade and pass rush grade. Run defense grade was pretty low, 45.2, but, I'm not complaining. I just hope that they send down a safety or something behind him. No, Phil, though, it has nothing to do with what Saturdays are versus Sundays. Those are called facts. Facts are that Hutch did XYZ. Facts are the stats are these. Those are facts. I'm just telling you the facts. If you don't like the facts, I apologize, but those are the facts. Can't do anything about it. So, Shadow Viper, what's happening, man? There's a lot of people in here tonight.
Jameson makes the catch. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, number 9.
Better the hunt. Yes, exactly. I will take the guys that want to prove themselves. Lone Wolf says, I would take Epinesa over Huff. Wow. I kind of like them both equally. I like them both. I think they're both great. Steve-O says he missed 9 games. Who are we talking about? Let's see. Alpha Gridiron says, or Lions wait till Khalil Mack is released, which looks like it could happen. He still has 2 good seasons in him and is a future Hall of Famer. I know that they are looking for a trade. Yeah, they're trying to get a trade done. He's going to have to be released. There's no way they can pay the dude. That's the nice thing about Cat Purgatory. I reported the 5 teams that could benefit the Lions. That was about a month ago. Who do we have on that list? We had the Bills, the Dolphins, the Saints. Who else? Who else do we have on that list? Anyway, there's 5 teams. And so far we're seeing that the Dolphins could, the Dolphins could potentially help the Lions. I mean, if Christian Wilkins becomes a Lion, that's a huge benefit because they couldn't afford to bring him back. The Broncos are on that list. I mean, if Justin Simmons becomes a Detroit Lion again, you look at the teams that are in trouble. Those are the teams that you try to go and poach players from if they have anybody to poach, right? But they've let players go. The Bills, they released, I don't know, a dozen players, it seemed like the other day. And you're going to have an opportunity to grab a couple of those guys. And with the market being so rich as it is right now in the DB room, market's dropping. So let's see, who would Simmons start over if he was here? I think everybody. I think he would be the number 1, 1,000%. I don't care who's out there. Free safety, strong safety. I think he can play both sides. Adam asked me, who is my number 1 priority free agent right now? Number 1 priority free agent right now. So that's where things kind of get difficult because I would say this. You guys know that cornerback to me is the number 1 position of need because it is such a large hole. So that being the case, you've got to go after somebody like a Kendall Fuller. And if you can't get a Kendall Fuller, you've got to bring in another safety. So I think that the DB room is priority number 1. But priority number 2, would really be that defensive tackle position. But I think you're going to have to approach them equally, quite honestly. I think that you have to attack them equally. You have the money to do it. You have to do it. I just think that the Lions need to really ramp up their depth in the cornerback room. So if they don't bring in, somebody like Kendall Fuller, they're obviously thinking that they're going to draft somebody. And if they're going to be able to draft somebody, that player's got to be able to play day 1. That's where your first rounder must play year 1. And picking a corner at 29 has that ability. I will tell you that, if we're looking, and we're going to do a mock draft 2.0 here in a little bit. Right now, Kool-Aid McKinstry is slipping down to 29. And he is my number 1 overall corner at 29 to the Lions right now. And that's where I would not take, an edge or a defensive tackle at 29 because there's a corner available. So if you attack a corner in free agency, now you freed up a draft pick. Because the nice thing about a corner in free agency is you've got 4 years of tape on them in the NFL, and you know exactly what they can do. Big difference with college. You don't have 4 years of NFL tape. So for that reason, I think that corner should be number 1 priority. That way it frees up a draft pick at 29, and then you can take a corner, at your second draft pick, or you can move some picks around, make some trades, and hopefully get back into the mid 40s and still end up with a pretty good corner and some depth. And then maybe next year you get another free agent, for the cornerback room. But we do know that we need somebody, 1, better than Cam Sutton, and 2, we need somebody that can also help this defensive tackle room, defensive line room, get to the quarterback. Warren King says, I am not sure McKinstry is a Dan Campbell kind of player. That's what's making me mad right now because I had all of this information on him tonight. You know what? Let me grab it. Let me see if I can find it. Give me 1 second here. I wanted to talk about Kool-Aid tonight. So here's my information on Kool-Aid. So we're going to take a hard left here real quick. And we'll talk about Kool-Aid McKinstry and why I feel he's a great fit at 29. Should the Lions not target? Now remember, there's going to be conditions on this. Should the Lions not target a number one corner in the draft, or I'm sorry, in free agency, then you have no choice but to go after a corner in the draft. Would anybody agree with that? Poppy and Lily's dad says if we're stuck at 29, Brad sticks with BPA, it won't be Kool-Aid. It all depends on who's there. If any of these mock drafts that I've been doing on PFF are what close to what teams are thinking, I think that Kool-Aid would be. But there's a good point there. Someone brought up a Woozy. A Woozy's pretty good. And again, you could grab a Woozy and Kendall Fuller right now for less than $15 million a year combined. That's the projected that they're both worth combined. And I do believe that, that could be a move that Brad pulls off. He brings in two, just like he did last year. And I did find out, by the way, I don't know if you guys saw this already, but as I expected, the only way that Emmanuel Moseley came back to this team, I'll get to Kool-Aid in a minute. The only reason why that Emmanuel Moseley came back to this team is because his contract was pretty much vet minimum, pretty darn close. It has a cap value of like $3 million or less. He gets like a $45,000 bonus per game that he's on the roster. That equals to like, I don't know, $800K or something like that. He got $1 million signing bonus in cash. And I think he has like, I don't know, a 2.4 million cap hit or something like that. So he didn't make any money. And that's why, he's back with the Detroit Lions. But you could tell by the way that they structured his deal that it's in a way that he has to play to get paid. He's not just going to ride the pine and get paid. He's got to play to get paid. He's got to be on the roster. So I think that the Lions are still heavily involved in the DB room as far as free agency. Just now that I've seen his contract, it makes sense to why they brought him back. They brought him back as depth. They brought him back as a hope and a prayer and a wish that he can get healthy and help this team. But if he can't, he's not going to get paid. So J Mommy says, do you think that the Lions will have Branch and Iffy working on cornerback coverage? I think Branch can play slot, no problem. But as far as outside corner, I'm not so sure. But see, that's the number one reason why McKinstry is a perfect fit to the Lions, because he already has worked with Branch and he has chemistry with Branch. So Alabama has bred some incredible corners and safeties over the many, many, many years. And I think that McKinstry, and what you're about to learn about him here in just a moment, this was going to be a video, but screw it. We'll just do it now. I think that you'll like this guy a little bit more than maybe what you're thinking, if he is a fit or not a fit, or Brad Holmes guy or not a Brad Holmes guy. So here we go. This is what I wrote on him earlier. I said Kool-Aid is known for his athletic skills and cool persona, hence the fun nickname. And his birth name is JaQuincy or GaQuincy. I think it's JaQuincy. But Kool-Aid became his alter ego from day one that he was born, which was actually given to him by his grandmother. She said that he had such a big smile. He had a Kool-Aid smile, like the Kool-Aid Man. And the name stuck. His journey from high school to the Crimson Tide saw him really shine defensively. And he also played two ways. He was a punt returner with 332 yards, second in Division I, and a 15.8 yard average, he's become a promising prospect, obviously, for the NFL. Now, when you think about a guy like this, he's versatile. That's box number one checked. Brad Holmes loves versatility. You can never not have enough punt returners on a team, just like you can never not have enough corners. We seen it last year. You know, we had guys go down. Khalif Raymond. We struggled to suit somebody up to take the role and do it well. So the fact that he's a punt returner and he would more than likely play a lot of special teams checks that versatility box. He's also has that familiarity with Branch, like I said. And for that reason, and those reasons, I do believe that, you know, he is a really good fit here in Detroit. He should be available at 29, especially based on, you know, the most recent mock drafts. And already coming from what is known as one of the most complex defensive schemes at the college level with Nick Saban's complex defenses, I think that there's a lot that can translate to, you know, to the NFL here. Saban does, you know, really well with coaching up his players and developing his players. And we know this because if you look at, you know, what has turned out from the defensive backs over the last many seasons, you get players like this: Patrick Surtain, Marlon Humphrey, D. Milliner, Dre Kilpatrick. Of course, you got Kool-Aid now, Kendall Sheffield, Desmond Ricks last season. Actually, no, I think he'll be this season. Minka Fitzpatrick, BJ Scott, all the way back in 2008. On the safety side, you know, he's got Landon Collins, Clinton Dix, Terrion Arnold, who will be coming out this year, Xavier McKinney, who's now a free agent, Jordan Battle, who came out last year with Brian Branch, and then, of course, Brian Branch. So pretty darn good list of names. And if you tell me, that tells me what? Tells me that when you go play for Alabama, they do a pretty darn good job of making sure you're good at your position, especially in the DB room. And that's exactly why I believe, you know, this opportunity for McKinstry to become a Detroit Lion. I mean, not only the parity with his name, I mean, Kool-Aid, come on, it doesn't get any better than that. Right now, he is my number one option at corner to make it, you know, to slide at least to the Detroit Lions at 29. Should the Lions not attack corner in free agency and they end up spending a first round pick on a corner, I do believe that McKinstry is that guy. I can't believe that Stiggers is a first round quality. I wouldn't think so. So for that reason, it has to be McKinstry. Because if you think about it, Quinion, Terrion Arnold, those guys are going to be gone. There's really nobody else available that meets the demand of a first round talent. And you're picking so low at 29. I mean, you're almost in a second round anyway. If you felt like you could move back and still stay within the first round, I think Brad Holmes should do it. You know, add an extra pick in the third round or something if you can, just by moving back a couple of spots. There's a question I just saw in there. Hold on. Is Kool-Aid your number one corner, or who is your number one corner? Not option. So Kool-Aid's my number one option to the Lions. That's it. He's not my number one corner in the draft. I think that Terrion Arnold is probably the number one corner in this draft. I think Quinion Mitchell carries the most opportunity in this draft, meaning his size, his speed, everything about him is unmatched. I don't trust the school. I don't trust the competition. So Terrion Arnold obviously is my number one corner overall right now. And I do believe that Quinion has got a lot to prove, but I think he's going to be just fine. And I think McKinstry is a solid, you know, number three option in this draft. I really do. I don't know if there's going to be another corner that's going to be taken before McKinstry right now. It's still early. That's why we're only on mock 2.0 tonight. All right. So let me talk a little bit more about Kool-Aid here. He's definitely shown the ability to switch it up, playing both outside and sliding into the slot without missing a beat. He has a very high reactive athleticism to concepts and changes. But the bigger test against the NFL route tree and competition And the season wideouts, I think, are going to test his skills. And that's, I'm hoping to see more out of him before we get to the draft, but I don't think it's going to happen. He is known for a high motor and stamina, which he's obviously going to need at the next level, but he's also known for his FBI. And there's one thing that we know about Brad Holmes, and that's that football intelligence is probably the most important aspect to how he drafts. You have to be an extremely smart football player. You have to love the game of football. And then, of course, you have to have all the athletic tools. Not having been in the room, I cannot attest to, the situations that were thrown at Kool-Aid, or how well did he do in his interviews? I have no idea. There usually are some stories that leak, after the fact, after the draft. We'll see if anything leaks before. But an online source has confirmed that some things about Kool-Aid that are very reassuring. One, McKinstry's got that field general vibe. The kid is not shy about aligning up guys. He's not shy about calling out all the assignments and stepping into that on-field leadership role. He's the critical stuff in high stakes, in situational football, he's really good at. This isn't just athleticism. It's him being a student of the game. It's he studies it. When he's drawing up his plays and going through his tape study every single week and getting prepped for the next game, he's taking it to another level. And a student of the game is somebody that loves the game, and that to me is another box checked for Brad Holmes, that he doesn't have to worry that this guy's not going to go do his homework, every single week against, these top tier wide receivers that he's going to be going up against. The game planning portion of every week of practice is extremely important. And it's also done more than likely alone in your free time at home. It's not always, in a classroom setting in Allen Park. There's a lot of work you need to do outside of Allen Park. It's like where they say you take your work home with you. Same thing applies in professional football. You still need to take your work home with you and study and be ready. Where was I here? So I said, this wasn't just athleticism. He's a student of the game. And that's going to resonate a lot, with the defensive coordinators looking for a plug and play option in any secondary or DB room. He has another versatility to him that NFL teams will covet, which is, the return game, being a punt returner. He has enough speed and it has shown that, he can do it. He's not afraid to do it. Even if he's not the number one option on a team, it's nice to know that you have another player that can get the job done. Now, I know you ran like a 4.5, and I know for all of the people that get bent out of shape over a 40-yard dash, I'll be honest with you about something. The 40 is not the first thing that these people are looking for. It's probably the last thing. The tape is the first thing. How well does he move in a game? How well does he move with pads on? How fluid are his hips? Does he get to his spots on time? Does he take the right angles to a running back or a receiver? Does he match and flip well with his hips? Does he break well on the timing routes? Is he too early? Is he too late? Because all of that stuff happens here, and then the body moves. So the reactionary time, has to start in the brain first. And that's why football intelligence is such a big deal, because if you're not as intelligent about football, you're not going to be as reactionary to, the plays that are happening on the field. I hope I'm making some sense with this. And I see you guys are just lighting it up right now. Yeah, Detroit Grits is a 40 doesn't mean much when you're wearing pajamas and nothing's in your way. Exactly. The 40 is kind of meaningless. It's what they look at after the fact. Like when all things are done, your speed is important. Like in Braden Fisk's situation, right? He's tall. He's got speed. He's got good weight. Stupid football guy. I mean, he loves football, loves it, his intelligence. I mean, he's completely nuts about the game. He's everything that you want in a player, but his arms were short. So he went from a top 15 pick to now he's probably in the top, 45, 50. And that's a big drop. And that's what a 40 is probably saving him right now, because he has that speed. He's not in the third round. So that's how it can help you. But, you know, it's not necessarily going to hurt you a whole lot. And I've made this analogy a few times too. You can run a 4.25. I know that's fast. I'm just fictitious numbers here. You can run a 4.25, not be the brightest guy, not have the best FBI, not have very good reactionary scores. And what's going to happen? You're going to run yourself really fast out of the play. Or you can run a 4.5, have really good reactionary scores, incredible FBI. You're doing your homework at home, and you're going to run a little bit slower, but you're going to make it to the route on time. You're going to make it to the play on time. And what I say is, you're going to run yourself into a play, to making a play. That, you know, 1/10 of a second, 2/10 of a second, that's really not going to show up a whole lot, you know, in the game. I mean, it can at times with certain things, but in this part of the game, it's not. You know, if you're running up against a guy that's 4.5 versus a 4.25 and they're running straight line, yeah, well, obviously the guy that's faster is going to beat him. But how often are you running a straight line in football? You're not. You're zigzagging diagonals. I mean, it's hardly ever a straight line unless you're a wide receiver running a streak. And that doesn't happen a whole lot either. So scouting report strengths on Kool-Aid is this. Watching some tape on him and some highlights today, I was pretty impressed. I mean, I watched some earlier, but I watched some more again today. I do feel that he possesses pretty oily hips, or at least oily enough hips to be able to take on an X receiver at the next level. He does exhibit exceptional awareness and zone coverage. He consistently is reading and reacting to the quarterback and then making adjustments and unfolding, the plays with ease. He uses his length as leverage to disrupt passes and intimidate these receivers. Very skilled in the bump and run, but yet when I get to a weakness later, I think he's a little hesitant at times. He does utilize his foot quickness or his lateral agility very well with his hips and the fluidity within his hips to mirror and challenge the receivers instantly. So, you know, when you watch him backpedal, I mean, he's using very short bursts, very short steps, and he's got his eyes on the hips of the receiver and he's watching. And as soon as that receiver breaks, he's breaking. It's almost instant. He's physical enough at the route's peak that, especially when receivers attempt to assert any sort of a dominant, play over him or aggressive play, he doesn't back down. He if anything, he's all about it. So maintains poise and calm demeanor and making necessary adjustments. Doesn't appear to get flustered a whole lot. And like I said earlier, big time communicator. Always ensuring his teammates are positioned accurately inside this Saban's diverse zone match coverage scheme. So those are all great strengths, but it's not without weaknesses either. Everybody has them. He does allow receivers to kind of get the best of him in the vertical phase. And that's what I was just saying. Like, he runs a 4.5. Xavier Worthy runs a 4.22. If you're in the vertical phase game going deep, he's not going to be able to be up on you playing press man and stick with you. It's not going to happen. He's going to have to play off man, off coverage on these faster wide receivers, which is expected. He needs to sharpen his mirroring against these crafty and physical receivers, especially in the short or intermediate game. He has tendencies to bite on fakes. And that's what I was saying earlier, that, sometimes he's a little hesitant. Maybe he's misreading it when he's in the red zone, which primarily in the red zone is where he had his most difficulty. I don't think it's a broader issue than what it really is. I just think he's a little bit jumpy at times. And a lot of this stuff can be fixed with technique training at the next level. He is a little rough when he needs to bail. So when he's backpedaling, he needs to turn and go, flip. He does have a little bit of a hitch there. Very minor. Otherwise, I felt like his hips were as oily as they get. And it could have just been, you're watching a guy without pads on, and with pads on, you don't notice some of this stuff. The only issue that I really see with him, though, is just the downfield speed, just the straight line speed. And that's about it, which I don't think a lot of that is really going to show up a whole lot, especially in the schemes that the Lions play and then what they've utilized a lot last season. So the only thing that I guess really would worry about with McKinstry would be his aggressiveness. He's really aggressive. And you can't be that handsy, hand fighting downfield in the NFL. You're going to get called for it all the time.
Jameson makes the catch. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, number 9.
So Jimmy P.O. War, that's a new name. Welcome in tonight. Says, speaking of aggressiveness and adjustments, was watching Stiggins. That must be Stiggers. And definitely seemed way too handsy and aggressive in the CFL. And he'd have to adjust here to even have some depth, but can see the upside. Man, he definitely he's got some skill. And I seen someone earlier said that in all of the other mock drafts, he was going undrafted. I haven't even seen him in a mock draft. So I don't know if there's another one in there. So Adam says we need someone that could lock down JJ and more one day. Is that Kool-Aid? I don't know if that's Kool-Aid. So I don't know if he would be a number 1. I think that Cam Sutton is still going to have to be the number 1 in that situation. I think the Lions really need to find a number 1 corner in free agency. And if you do, that doesn't mean that you still don't grab a corner early in the draft. You've got to build for depth. You've got to have these cheaper contracts. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. Jalen Johnson runs a 4.5, but he's an outlier. Most of the top cornerbacks are running a low to mid 4.4. Good point, Steve-O. So if Jalen Johnson can run a 4.5 and be one of the top cornerbacks in the NFL, if not the best cornerback in the NFL, or one of, I mean, you still got Sauce Gardner. I think Devon Witherspoon's going to make a big jump. Christian Gonzalez is going to make a big jump next year. The reason why is because he's smart. He's super smart. He's got that FBI locked down. And that's the difference, is the head. It has nothing to do with your feet sometimes. You guys have heard me say this, or at least the ones that are here, mostly it's 90% of this game when you get to the next level in the NFL is mental. You've already got the physical traits. Everybody has the physical traits.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, number 9.
Appreciate the subscription there, One Cool Cash. Everyone has the physical traits. It's now mental. Who's smarter than who thinks and reacts the quickest. If you can beat your opponent in the mental game, more than likely you'll be able to beat him on the field. And that's what it boils down to. And that's what Jalen Johnson is good at. Oh, Chef Talk says, Jeff Okudah is not a football player. He's an insurance salesman that conned the Lions into drafting him. That's incredible. Here's the thing about Okudah, since you brought him up. And no, we better not even think about bringing him back. He did not have an opportunity to grow. He had no opportunity to grow as a Lion because he was under a crap regime. And when he was brought into the league, everybody left the Lions. So he had nobody to learn from. He was put out there on an island by himself with a bunch of crappy teachers around him. And a guy that walked around with a pencil in his head or on an ATV building hills for these guys to run up and down and try to be, a drill sergeant because somebody pissed in his Cheerios when he was a kid. Matt Patricia completely ruined that team and a lot of football players and their careers. So I would give Jeff Okudah a slight pass because he did not have anybody to learn from. And then, of course, he had the major injury, which I think he's fine now. But it's not all Okudah's fault. I mean, I don't think that he should have been taken at, what was he taking, 3 overall? I don't think he should have been taken that early. But Jared, you see him coming back? No way. No way. They let him walk. He's a done deal. He wanted out. He wanted to be traded, somewhere that he wanted to be. All right. So what did I have next on the list here? We talked a little bit about Kool-Aid. So did any of that information change your perception on Kool-Aid? If you thought that Kool-Aid was not, good enough to draft at 29, would any of that information have made it different for you? I feel pretty positive. I mean, I've listened to his interviews. I think that he's a pretty smart dude. He's very cool, calm, collected. He's known as like the happiest guy in the room and someone that's always checking on you to make sure you're okay. He's got the leadership qualities around him. He's, a drill sergeant on the football field. So I would feel comfortable with him. I would. Absolutely. And Adam, I agree with you. Our first rounder needs to be a guy that could come in and be a key player day one. And I believe in that too. So next thing up I wanted to talk about is the free agent tracker and some of the information here that has been coming out in the past couple of days for the Detroit Lions. And I wanted to give you guys a little bit of symmetry here. So in 2023, we'll move on to a new segment here. In 2023, man, my allergies are kicking my butt. This 70 degrees to 23 degrees has got to stop. Where was I here? 2023, the Lions had, plethora of visits, combine, official visits, top 30 visits, whatever you want to call them. And during that season, the Lions signed 6 outside free agents in 2023. Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley, Graham Glasgow, David Montgomery, CJ Gardner-Johnson, and Marvin Jones. They also re-signed, 6 in-house guys? Isaiah Buggs, Alex Anzalone, Craig Reynolds, John Kaminsky, Matt Nelson, and Will Harris. Well, then they also had all of these visits. And the reason why I'm bringing this information up is when you look at the guys that came in to visit with the Lions, or the Lions visited them, whatever the case may be, whether it was at the combine or the pro day or, a top 30 visit, that's who the Lions drafted for the most part. Hendon Hooker was a top 30, drafted round number 3. Aiden Martinez, a top 30 visit. He was a UDFA. Antoine Green, NFL Combine visit, round 7. Sam Laporta, NFL Combine visit, round 2. Brian Branch, top 30 visit, round 2. Dylan Drummond, local day visit, Eastern Michigan, UDFA. Trevor Nowaski, another local visit from Saginaw Valley, UDFA. So when you look at all of the guys who's not on here that the Lions drafted? So Jahmyr Gibbs, and you know what's funny? Jahmyr Gibbs, according to this list, which is supposed to be 100% accurate, Jahmyr Gibbs was never brought in for a visit, ever. And he was your number. And I don't see Jack Campbell on this list anywhere either, which I could have sworn that Jack Campbell had a visit. Almost positive he had a visit. Maybe he didn't. So if that was true, it would be on this list. You're saying that they were met at the combine, but this has all of them. Supposedly this list is 100% accurate. It was from Jeremy Reisman. It was the entire visits for 2023. And it lists top 30, combine, pro day, all of it. But I could have sworn that they were on the list last year, at least Jack Campbell. So Keitho, who had to visit? Jahmyr Gibbs or Jack Campbell? I thought Campbell did. I don't know about Gibbs. Good point, Boo Joe. I'm going to have to go watch the video again. Yeah, I remember him on that video now. I remember him. They're talking up the play, and then Gibbs, he was holding the football. So this list is wrong. So there you go. Just everybody that the Lions drafted, they brought him in for a visit. So that's what I'm going to be looking at tonight when we do our mock 2 NFL draft. It's going to be based on the guys that have come in for a visit so far. And so far here we've got Xavier Legette, Brian Thomas Jr., Devontae Walker. Those are the 3 wide receivers. Kingsley Suamatala, offensive guard or offensive tackle. Edge, Nelson Caesar, Marshawn Nealand, Darius Robinson, Braylon Trice. Defensive tackle, Johnny Newton. Do not expect him to be anywhere near 29, even though I don't believe he's the best defensive tackle in this draft. Aaron Casey, linebacker. Kool-Aid McKinstry, cornerback. Quinion Mitchell, cornerback. And then 2 safeties, Sian Vake and Malik Mustafa. And what's funny about this is I just came upon Malik Mustafa yesterday, and I was looking for safeties, all the safeties that were being released. Well, he popped up somehow, and I started going down a rabbit hole. If you guys haven't watched anything on Malik Mustafa yet, you probably should. There is a high chance he becomes a Detroit Lion in this draft because I mean, the guy is built, but his football intelligence, everything about him exudes what it is to be a Detroit Lion today. His answer at the combine, when he said it was not about proving everybody else wrong, it was about proving myself right, because he's been an undersized safety at 5'10". He's like 209 pounds though. He's built. I mean, the guy is rock solid. He's a thumper. He's a hitter. He's a tackler, and he plays pretty well in the pass game too. But anyway, go watch some Malik Mustafa videos, highlights, whatever. The guy's really good. I just don't see him being, anything but a day 3 guy. Yeah, he's his nickname, I believe, is the Nigerian Missile. It's a heck of a nickname. Give me 1 second. All right, we're back. All right, let's do this mock 2.0. And we're going to bug off for the rest of the night. Got a long day the next 3 days. All right, everybody can see it okay? Yeah, appreciate it, Adam. That'll be on Tuesday. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, just small procedure, nothing major. So what part of Michigan am I from? I'm in the Grand Rapids area. All right, so we're going to do this. Tonight is mock draft 2.0. Why is it all... Oh, I got to pull it off the screen and sign in real quick. All right, there we go. So I'm not going to mess with any settings. I'm not going to mess with any settings or anything. We're just going to get right into it. First one is I'm just going to go ahead and do one. And this is going to be based on the list right now, the visit tracker, and how I've got it set up based on round 1, round 2, round 3, where I've got these guys pegged, based on the visits and who's available. So right now, Quinion Mitchell, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Brian Thomas Jr., and Johnny Newton are the only round 1 grades that I've given so far. Darius Robinson, Marshawn Nealand, Xavier Legette, Devontae Walker, and Braylon Trice are round 2. I'm not high on Braylon Trice at all, but we'll see what happens. Should probably pick the Lions first, right? El Torre, 45 minutes south, so you must be up north, like Big Rapids area, Muskegon, Fremont, something like that. Somewhere over that way. Somewhere in between. We'll be doing some gatherings this summer. We'll get some line stuff going this summer. So here we go. First pick at 29. Jaden Daniels. I don't believe he would be there. JJ McCarthy could be. Doubt it. I don't think he's going to slip past the Patriots. I really don't. I think they would love to have another JJ McCarthy or another Michigan quarterback. I think JJ, is as critical as I've been on some of the stuff that he does. I got to be honest, man. After watching more of his tape, I think he's going to surprise some people. I really do. It might take him a year or two to catch it, but I think that he's going to surprise some people. And yeah, I didn't touch any settings. This is what I'm saying. Everything has changed after the combine. Everything. I don't make this stuff. This is PFF doing it. So this is based on what everybody picks. So I would not take Zach Frazier as my number 1 overall pick, even though we need a center who actually he would be a really good guard to start. And he's played both positions. I wouldn't do it. I would trade back. So Kool-Aid and TJ Tampa, those are the two guys that are neck and neck. I do like TJ Tampa. I guess he would be the only other one that I think would go round 1. But see, if I take Kool-Aid, then I'm going to miss on Chop. And Darius Robinson. And I do think that Darius has a high likelihood of becoming a Detroit Lion. And I am going to miss on Rook. And those are the things that you have to think about. So best player available, no trades, it's Kool-Aid. It has to be. Well, that fell into my hands because Marshawn Nealand is there. I was not high on Marshawn Nealand at all. And after watching more tape today and yesterday, I have to say I am getting more and more excited about this guy. And I think we need to question one thing. Was anybody high on Crosby at all? I don't think so. And this guy has become one of the best defensive ends in the league, coming from a small-time school. So, Western it's my dad's alma mater, but it's a small town school. It's not a big time school like some of these other guys have gone to. And I don't remember where Crosby went, but I know nobody was high on him. So for that reason alone, though, we need an edge rusher. I don't see a defensive tackle that I would take right here. And let me just look. I'm definitely not liking Austin Booker. I love Brendan Rice. There's just no DTs in this draft at all. I've been saying that for weeks. Like, there is nobody past the first round, it seems like. Even into the middle of the second round, I think, is where they kind of all fall off. I've got to take Marshawn Nealand. I have to. I don't have a choice. I'm going off the list here. All right, so we've got Devontae Walker, and that was a second round grade, and it was a Lions visit. We do need an offensive guard or two. I do like Gabriel Murphy, but he wasn't a visit yet. I do like Mason McCormick. I think he's going to be an excellent guard in the league. But that's too far down. You're talking, 90th pick or 90th rank, which I don't care about the ranks. Then you got Braylon Trice. Since I already took an edge, I'm not going to take two in a row. I just don't think that would be wise. And the Lions do need a wide receiver. Let's see if he fits X receiver size, which he does. I don't believe that Walker is really going to have to be utilized a whole lot. Meaning he's not expected to come in and light it on fire. And for that reason, I would probably take a chance on him. He ran a 4.36 40. So now the 40 does mean something for the receivers, at least a little bit. So I've got to draft a wide receiver. Got to do it. All right. So next up, we are into. So we've already gone through the Lions' first two rounds of grades on players they've had visits with. They're all gone. So now in round 3, I gave Quantez Stiggers, without knowing much about him at all, a round 3-4 grade, like end of 3, early 4 potential. Sion Vaki, round 3. Nelson Caesar, edge, round 3. So we'll look and see if any of those guys are available. There's Sion Vaki. I do like that Dwayne Carter is slipping a little bit. Matt Goncalves, I do like him quite a bit. This Javon Solomon has piqued my interest. I'm going to be looking into more of him. Cornerback Jarvis Brownlee, I did like him at the combine. I loved what he was doing actually at the combine. Cooper Beebe, I'm still high on, but we're talking, 50, 60 picks down. But my next pick is 163. So this was got to be a home run pick. And the Lions need DB help big time. So Sion
makes the catch. Touchdown Detroit Lions. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Here's my initial thoughts about this draft. Lionized. Yeah, I think it was Eastern Michigan that he went to, if you're talking about Crosby. No, that's not good. Poppy and Lily's dad. Devonta's his hands of stone. Did he have a bunch of drops? If Stiggers goes undrafted, I would be pissed off if the Lions didn't get him. I think that's where you just waste your last pick just to grab him. If they really find it, they're really high on him. I think Demi got 313. I think that you talking about Chris Jenkins. I think his issue is the short arms. And I do like Bullock, Ronan 99, but I'm basing this off of the Lions in-house visit so far. That's my first draft tonight, is just based on that. And look who's staring at us right in the face at 161. Malik Mustafa. So I just took Sion Vaki. So that tells me that I could have passed on Sion Vaki. I could have grabbed somebody else. I probably could have reached for an offensive lineman or something. And then I could have taken Malik right here. But there's a big difference between Sion Vaki and Malik Mustafa. A huge difference. I just grabbed the safety, so I'm not going to grab another one because we don't need to. Even though Sion Vaki could play corner, I doubt it. I doubt that would happen. I do love Kamal Hayden here at 190. I would hope that I could pick him up at 204. And if I can, that would be a great pickup for depth. I do like Solomon Byrd. There was another one on here. Hold on. And it was a defensive tackle that I came on. I could have sworn it was on the Lions list. Yes, Christian Boyd with a K. Christian Boyd with a K. Northern Iowa. Watch his tape. Big time dude. Loved his tape. Did he already get picked up? That would be insane. Wonder if there's a way to look, like type in a name to look. All right, well, let's just whittle this down. We need offensive line badly. I do like Hunter Norzad. I do like Tanner Bortolini. Drake Nugent, arms are too small. Trevor Keegan, I don't know much about him. 6'6", 320. I don't even know if he was at the combine. Might have been. All right, so Trevor Keegan. Let's see if he's got the arm length we're looking for. So 6'5", 310. His arms are almost there. Big hands. I'm not too concerned about any of this. Looks fine. I don't know anything about him, though. Like, I haven't watched any tape. He has average hand placement, but above average strain and is what the hell? And is extremely consistent in the dual blocking scheme that Michigan features. Dual blocking scheme. I'm not familiar with that term. Well, based on what this is saying, I think that I'd have to take him because we need offensive line help badly. Let me look at Hunter Norzad real quick, and then we'll make our decision. I do like Graham Barton. All right, so he has a little bit better grade than Keegan. 6'3". He's got longer arms than Keegan, bigger hands than Keegan. I think he weighs more than Keegan. And he's a center. He's broad and powerful with thick hips and adequate length for the position. He's a Cornell transfer. He not only possesses NFL caliber core strength, technique, and body control, he also has quality performances against the toughest Big Ten competition. Norzad has the feel and footwork for all run blocking schemes and is strong enough to deal with a zero technique lined up over him. Well, I think that this is my guy. So I almost drafted a Michigan guy, almost. But Hunter Norzad is a giant reach here from 163 to 199. But I'm grabbing a center that, has that NFL caliber technique and body control and everything that it was talking about, which is going to be huge in the run game for Jahmyr Gibbs and Demo. And if he's able to just slide over to right guard or left guard, wherever Graham Glasgow is not going to be playing, that would be a huge benefit to this Lions team, especially when the Lions, if Ragnow retires after this next season. So it's been speculated that the Lions and Ragnow are going to be restructuring his contract so that he has an easier out after this year, but also an in if he wants to continue to play. So last pick, let's see, we're at 204. And I don't have really anybody else on my board from the Lions meet and greets here. So, other than Christian Boyd, which he was gone, the Lions still need, what happened? I thought I was sharing the screen. We still need offensive line help, big time. And Tanner Bortolini is one of my favorites. He's got terrible grades. But, you know, going up against the best of the best, here's what I like. He played left guard in 2022. He played right guard in 2022. He played center in 2022. And then he went full-time center in 2023. So he's going to be a bit of a project. But the fact that he was able to play all three middle positions tells me that he's got great versatility, and probably why his grading is not that great, because he was spread out all over the place and couldn't just sit into a position and grow. So you get to the next level and you sit down and you grow, you know, whether it's left guard or right guard. And he still practices at center. He's 6'4", so that's prototypical size for a center. If anything, it's tall for a center. 310 pounds. He would need to add probably 20 pounds to be a center. But as far as his size, let's take a look at his size real quick. I really like my guys to have 33-inch arms or better. And he's a little short in the arms. Damn, he ran the 40 in under 5 seconds. That's pretty darn good for a big guy. 99 on the athleticism score. That's huge, especially for a guy that could come in and be a pulling guard. 6'4", 31.5-inch arms. Got big hands, though, 10-inch hands. I like this dude. Even though he's a little bit short in the arms, you see, that's where I was saying earlier that this athleticism is going to make up for that. Because if he can get out early and meet the defender and get to him early, he may not need all 33-inch arms. Yeah, Donkey Kong, that's why we do multiple of them. And I know we need a kicker. I honestly don't know if they're going to address the kicker situation this year. I would be surprised if they didn't. But then again, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. So last pick of the day, no trades. I followed the Lions list until we got to the 5th round because nobody was left. Now it's kind of just a luxury pick. Like, who do we need? I could have sworn there was a good. I thought that there was one more good corner or safety. So I'm just going to have to go offensive line because you can never have enough. And if he doesn't make the team, he doesn't make the team. Or you've got Oladapo, who's not terrible. Like, he's got great size, good grades. He's a big dude. I think we'll roll with another safety. Let him battle it out. All right, so we got an F on Hunter Norsard, B- overall, A- for Marshawn Nealand, B for Walker. Sion Vake was a C. Hunter, we got an F. We reached 30 spots to grab them. Tanner, a C. Kitten, a C+. Hey, at least no Ds, no E's, no F's. Or we got one F for a Hunter. So, hey, if Hunter would have been a C, which, come on now. How do you get an F? I mean, you got to grab best player available. That's why Brad gets crapped on. You know, so Donkey Kong, if it's an F draft, let me tell you how this works. I just picked all the players in the first 4 picks that were Lions visits. And last year, every person that visited the Lions were drafted. Or let me say that. I said that backwards. Every player that was drafted was visiting the Lions last year. So the guys that we're going to draft are the guys that have visited the Lions more than likely. So that's why I wanted to do the first one based off of the guys that they've already met with. They haven't met with everybody yet. They still have 30 guys to go through at least. So this second one is going to be my draft, just how I would do it. And I might even throw some trades in here. I'm not real excited about staying at 29. I think that it makes more sense to move up than it does to move back right away. It just depends on where you'd like to be. And I will say this, based on the way that these drafts have been going, it's better to have another pick between 35 and 50. If you have another pick between 35 and 50 and a pick at the end of the first round, the Lions would do much better. Also between 55 and 65, a pick somewhere between there. I would rather see them try to move up as possible, but who are they going to grab? I mean, is there somebody else in the first round that's really that much better? I don't think so in this draft. I think that there's very few players in this draft that are actually worth a first round grade. And we'll see if Brad Holmes agrees, because last year he told us he only had 12 or 14 first round grades. So I'm going to trade back right away. So my guy's not going to be there, even though I do like Tyler Guyton. Shoot. Jared, I don't know where you're finding stickers. Where are you guys doing drafts at? PFN or something? Yeah, this is nuts. See, okay, so now here's a strategy for me. I've got three guys that I would definitely take right here. Tyler Guyton, Kool-Aid McKinstry, TJ Tampa. Those 3 guys I would definitely take, right? So here's my thought process. Let me see if there's anybody else. I don't know how Adisa Isaac is up over Chop. That's crazy to me. But whatever. I would even take Chris Braswell. 6'3", 255. He's got great bend, impressive athlete. But he's just not a pass rusher, in my opinion. So I got 3 guys. I'm at 29. So if I could trade down to, say, 33, I would still have a very high likely shot at getting the guys that I want, right? So let's see what trade offers I have. We have pick 35 would be the earliest. I'm good with that. Let's see what they will offer. So 35 for my 29. And I mean, you know that I want your 66 and you're not going to take it. How about your 71? Not going to take that either. How about your 90? All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say I want your 66. Wait a second. Well, what am I missing here? I thought the Lions had pick 10 something before. Maybe not. I could have sworn they did. Could have sworn they had pick 102. Anyway, so I want to move 73 up to 66. and I want to move 163 up to 90. I know that looks like a stupid ass trade, but think about it. I'm moving 63 up 73 spots, 163 to 90. And then I'm moving 73 up 7 spots. And all I'm doing is dropping 6 spots. So those are the kinds of moves that I would do. So then that's going to give me 35, 66, 61, 73, 92. Say that again. 35, 66, 61, 73, 90, and 92. 5 in the top 92. We'll see if it comes back to bite me. Still got Kool-Aid in Tampa there. Look at that. So now I got room to move. So now I can trade again and try to move back into the mid 40s. Oh, there's 54. Can't do that. I thought they accepted it. I guess they didn't. Could have sworn they did. All right. Let me try that again. What just happened? Saints. No, they took it, didn't they? Yeah, they took it. There it is. 3, 4. Now I've only got 4 in the top 100, but I moved up into that sweet spot. So now I can grab really who I want. I should be able to get Darius at 45. Possibly Chop at 45. There are no defensive line other than Rook. I could get him at 61. Doubtful. We'll take Kool-Aid. All right, we got Darius. Choplin at 41 to the Packers. God, that would piss me off. I've got to reach and take Rook. Defensive line is now set. I'm going to grab my receiver, Xavier Leggett. And now I'm going to grab my guard, Mason McCormick. Yeah, big time guard. And that's it. I got my 4 impact players out of this draft. If the Lions did something like this, would you guys be completely pissed off? I wouldn't. Now there's Hunter. Now I should be able to get a great grade on Hunter because I'm picking at 204 and he's graded at 199. So we've got defensive line and we've got a corner and a guard. Or no, we got, who did we get? Hold on a second here. A Kool-Aid. Xavier Leggett and Rookie, right? Yeah. Okay. We got 1 guard already. mean, I would hope that they would get a kicker, but they are so far down the list. So let's trade. Yeah, that's a terrible trade. Yeah, there's really nobody to trade with. All right. Last pick is going to be I got to take this safety. Nope. I like Jaden Cromartie. Let's see if I get an A. B plus. Well, A for Kool-Aid, C plus for Rookie, C plus for Xavier, A minus for Mason, a B for Norzard. Last time was an F. B plus for Cromartie, B plus overall. Game changer, game changer, game changer, starting guard. Backup guard. Jaden Cromartie has an outside chance. 4 impact players, I guarantee it. All right, should we do one more and watch you guys? Do I actually watch highlights of Michigan players all the time? I study everybody, man. Everybody. Keegan was just the one that I wasn't real familiar with. And JJ, I started watching some more highlights of him in the last couple of days. Because I was crazy enough to think that the Lions could draft somebody, but I don't think that they would draft JJ knowing that JJ wouldn't have a chance to start for a while. And I don't know, unless he goes to a quarterback friendly or quarterback needy team, I don't know that he's going to start year one. But I do like his skill set. He spins the ball like great accuracy. And he's super smart. Dare I say he's the next 7-ring Tom Brady? I'm just kidding. That's not going to happen. All right, so let's do this one where I'm going to move up. Let's see here. I would like to get up into the top 15 if I could. Ooh, they didn't take it. Let's try it again. 29 and a second next year for their 15. Oh, they took it that time. All right, I traded 2 picks from 2025 to move up into the top 15. How did I do? See, now this is where we get some interesting picks here. You got Terrion Arnold, who is a bona fide starter day 1, I believe. And you got Jared Verse. And they're talking about his arm length is not great. So Donkey Kong, you saw terrible, man, terrible. Do you ever say anything positive? Let me ask you this. What do you think the value is of pick 15? If you go on Google and you Google the the valuation of each pick and how much they're worth, I can do it for you. Let me do it for you. So it's called footballguys.com. I'll do this. We'll see how bad I did. We'll see how terrible it was. What did I trade? I traded. Let's see. I traded next year's second and this year's first and the next year's fifth. And granted, where the Lions are going to be picking, which dare I say is going to be 25th or later, I traded a round 2 pick 25 and a round 5 pick 25 or later to trade up into the first round, 14 places. So that's what I'm going to plug into this. Round 1 pick 15, I traded 29. And then I traded probably, we'll call it 60. And then round 5, probably 180. No, let's see. Round 5. That's like 148. So 25 times 5, plus you've got compensatory picks. We'll just leave it at 148. It's close enough. So I gave up $13.99 in value. They gave up $1,200. They only moved up 17%. So they barely accepted it. They denied it the first time. They barely accepted it the second time. So I'm giving up hardly anything to move up into game, or to gain a game changer, like a bona fide game changer. So I don't think it was that bad. I really don't. And I've seen way more be traded for a top 15 pick. So here we go. Let's see who we're going to draft. I think that the only two options here is to take. And Quinion's gone already. Yep, he went top 10. Jerzon Newton, 11. I'm not high on him. Byron Murphy's got short arms. Not high on him. It's either Terrion Arnold or Jared Verse. Those are the only two I would take, because Jackson Powers Johnson's going to want to start at center. I definitely wouldn't take Fisk with his short arms. I would take him in the second round. We'll take Arnold. So we did all that just to get our starting corner. And now we're going to get either a wide receiver or an edge rusher. Again, I think that you have to take. Yeah, we know that Brad loves that 12 spot. I think I have to take Marshawn Nealand. I would dare take Xavier Legette because he's going to be a game changer. And you totally ignore the edge position and the defensive tackle position in this draft, because after this, there is nobody. Maybe Gabriel Murphy. Maybe I could get Brendan Rice at 73. I highly doubt it.
Jameson makes the catch. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, number 9.
So, again, without knowing what's going to happen in free agency, that's why 3.0 is after free agency. So next Sunday, we'll be doing 3.0. And then we'll have a better idea. See how lucky I got? Gervonta Sweat is sitting there, and Brendan Rice is sitting there. So I think I'm going to keep with keep addressing a hole in every position I've got corner. I've got edge. I can either take wide receiver or see who's available in the offensive line. You got Christian Mahogany. He's short. He's center size. Got Mason McCormick. I might be able to get him at 92. So I'm going to roll the dice on Mason McCormick. And if I want more cornerback help, I've got Jarian Jones back there at 93. Still have Sion Vaki available. And again, based on who the Lions have brought in, they haven't brought in Trevonde Sweat yet, and they haven't brought in Brendan Rice yet either. Dare I say that you want to just go for it and really solidify this defensive line with Trevonde Sweat? He's more of a nose tackle at the next step. He's definitely not going to be a pass rusher. I mean, if you had Broderick Martin and Trevonde Sweat on the line, I don't know. You would need 4 offensive linemen to take them on. 1,000%. 4 offensive linemen. But I have to go with what my heart says, and that says receiver. Got to fill the holes. Mason McCormick, got to take him to fill the other hole. So this is what it looks like when you move up. You got to give away draft capital. Drake Nugent, he had the broken leg or something, right? I'd probably stay away from him. There's Kamal Hayden at 190. So now I'm going to trade back. Sorry, I just added 2 more picks. Let's see how many more I can add. This is highly unlikely to happen. All right, so we'll leave it like that. Good blocker. All right. We'll take tight end AJ Barner. And here's where we're going to get Norzad. Build the guards up. I passed on Kamal Hayden. Probably shouldn't have. And Kenny Logan. Duke. 6'4", 246. He's a little short. They'll take Krumedi. He's too early. All right. So that's it. So that's what happens if you move up. I could have added more. I could have added way more picks if I wanted to, but I mean, I got another B plus, the lowest grade I got, grabbing a tight end where I could have grabbed Hayden there, added another corner. So we got our starting corner. We got a potential starting edge, a potential starting wide receiver, a definite starting guard in Mason McCormick. We've got a blocking tight end in AJ Barner. And then we've got some guys that, you know, will have to work on their craft. Hunter Norzad could be a backup guard for sure. He has starting potential, but, you know, again, picking that late in the draft, you just don't know what you're going to get. What can we get if we trade Brock Wright? I don't know, because I think his tender is close to $3 million. I forgot to download the other ones. So that's it. We've traded up. We've traded back. I've done one or two, I guess, based on what the Lions, so far, what it says, the players that they've met with this season so far. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. This is going to be a fun week to round out tonight's topics and podcast. Look, it's going to be fast and furious the next few days. We've got to be steadfast and what Brad Holmes has evaluated in what he feels are the most important areas of need. I don't think that he has a choice but to do something in free agency. How many high profile guys? Don't know. Do I think that we get one? Probably. Do I think that he fills a lot of mid-tier positions? More than likely. Do I also think that they're going to be upgrades over what we had last season? Most definitely. And the biggest reason why is this. The Lions just went to the NFC title game and damn near went to the Super Bowl. Teams are looking at us now like you were 3-13-1 3 seasons ago. You were 9-8 last year and narrowly missed the playoffs. Had you gotten into the playoffs, there wasn't one team that wanted to face you. And then the next year, you took the league by storm. You fought through a couple of games with some really bad refs, and you were able to win the division and win go to 3 playoff games, and damn near went to the Super Bowl. Guys are looking at you now a little bit differently. And some of the guys that want to come to this team are going to be highly capable of getting us back. And that's the most important thing, is you want to be able to replicate what you did the season before. It's extremely hard to get back to the NFC title game. A lot has to go right. And that's why Dan Campbell said that was our only shot. And then he, a week later or whatever, recanted that because he was full of emotion. And he's probably thinking, been there, done this, seen this before. We get there, and then we never make it even close to coming back. And that's the way it goes for a lot of teams in the NFL. There's only one winner, and there's 32 teams trying to get there. So all I can tell you is I'm going to be ready with the information, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I'll tell you this. I do think just, again, based on the research we've done, the people we've spoken to, all the reports that have come out, that Christian Wilkins most likely will be a Detroit Lion. If the Lions can get a top tier corner or a trade done for a corner, I think that hat is going to rest somewhere between Kendall Fuller, Awuzie, and Snead. But Snead could take time, and it would probably happen after free agency, only because you want to see what can happen during free agency and who you can get. It's wide open right now. That's right. Chef Talk says it's exciting times. So, and just for you guys that are still in, I know we had close to like 300 people in here tonight. This is not a normal podcast, tonight doing the mock draft and that. It's not what we normally do. It's normally heavily involved with the people, but you guys have been talking to yourself all night or with each other all night, and that's awesome. But most of our shows are highly interactive. Tomorrow morning, I'll be on at 8:30 with Derek on our Rocked On Syndicate channel at Rocked On Syndicate. We have a morning show planned, and we're going to be talking about what's going to be happening at noon. And there's a lot to talk about still, even after this 2-hour plus show. So, all right, y'all. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow. Free Agency Frenzy starts officially at noon. Let's get into it.